A very good morning to you all and welcome to Luntha Television for this program of Press Review, which is coming to live today, Friday the 17th of June 2022. In the studio, you're with me, Alianafa Perry, and my colleague,
Desire Banda.
Today we'll be taking you through the publications of The Nation and the Daily Times. To begin with the Nation newspaper, on the front page we have twist turns in Muli RBM fight. That's the main headline. It has a subheadline which reads, "Matter goes to Supreme Court, earlier judgment stayed." Partly the story says, proceedings in the case where Reserve Bank of Malawi RBM is claiming 1.4 billion kwacha from Moli Brothers Limited, MBL Holdings, took a new twist yesterday when the Malawi Supreme Court of Appeal granted the company interim relief. MBL Holdings obtained the Supreme Court order yesterday morning, barely 24 hours after High Court of Malawi Commercial Division Judge Jabbar Alide dismissed the firm's earlier application in its entirety and with cause.
Looking on the front page of the Nation newspaper, there is a story.
Daily Times.
Daily Times. Daily Times rather. There is a story called Snaps Namalumba. That's the headline. Part of the story is the High Court has dismissed with cause the Democratic Progressive Party DPP Member of Parliament Shadrack Namalumba's challenge against the leader of the opposition Kondwani Nankumwa's decision in Parliament.
Still on the front page of the Nation newspaper, we have a fire the corrupt U.S. envoy urges. That's the headline. Partly the story says the United States Ambassador David Young has asked the President Lazarus Chakwera to dismiss public officers implicated in corruption to demonstrate his commitment to fight the vice perpetuating poverty in the country. He said this on Wednesday evening at his residence in Lilongwe during the commemoration of the first anniversary of the U.S. government's Juneteenth National Day, attended by senior Malawi government officials, including cabinet ministers, Speaker of Parliament Catherine Gotani-Hara, Malawi Defense Force Commander General Vincent Nundwe, as well as other diplomats and dignitaries.
Moving on to the second page of the Daily Times. Demo organizers call out Chakwera. That's the headline. Part of the story reads, organizers of Mangochi and government demonstrations have given President Lazarus Chakwera 7 days to resign over socio-economic challenges facing the country. Human rights ambassadors, readers said this yesterday when they delivered a petition to the Mangochi District Commissioner.
I think demonstrations in the country, most of them they're calling for the president to resign.
Yeah.
I remember, of course, he said if he doesn't deliver what he said, he will resign. So maybe people they feel that he's not delivering, so they just want him to walk the talk, what he said he would do.
Yeah.
Right here on the fourth page of the Nation newspaper, we have another story. The headline says, NGOs report a government over girls trafficking. That's the headline. Partly the story says, two non-government organizations, NGOs, have reported Malawi to the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child for exposing girls to trafficking for sexual exploitation through poor implementation of anti-trafficking laws. The complaint submitted yesterday on the Day of the African Child by International Women's Rights NGO Equality Now and its Malawian partner People Serving Girls at Risk outlines how the Malawi government has violated articles of the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. It also seeks to hold government to account for its failings.
Then let's move to the business segment of the news. On business segments in the Times, there's a story, Malawi outlines trade barriers. That's the headline. Part of the story is Minister of Trade and Industry Makatonga P. has said Malawi and other low-income economies continue to face myriad challenges in their quest to reap the most international trade agreements.
In the Nation business news, we have a local firm ventures into cooking oil production. That's the main headlines. The sub-headline says creates at least 4,000 jobs. Partly the story reads, in the Nation business news, the headline says local firm ventures into cooking oil production, and the subheadline says creates at least 4,000 jobs. Partly the story reads, Project Innovation Center PIC, a local firm, says it plans full-scale production of sunflower cooking oil at its Balaka plant by December this year. PIC Chief Executive Officer Kondwani Ngwira said in an interview on Wednesday that the firm has ventured into production of cooking oil following a bumper yield of sunflower at its 10 farms across the country. I think that's a very good development there, to start producing our own cooking oil. I think it will cut costs of cooking oils in the market.
That is true.
Yeah.
Moving on with business segments, Standard Bank commits 5.2 million kwacha to Operation Smile. Part of the story is Standard Bank recently donated 5.2 million kwacha towards surgeries of children with cleft lip and parrot as a continuation of its long-term commitment towards supporting Operation Smile, Malawi's initiative in the country.
Another one, it says improved cotton output excites firm. That's the headline. Partly the story says Malawi Cotton Company, a subsidiary of China Africa Cotton, says a good working relationship with farmers has boosted up output this year. In an interview in Balaka on Tuesday, the firm's general manager, Shi Jingran, said because of the cooperation, they plan to buy 6,000 metric tons of seed cotton this year from 1,500 metric tons last year. She said improved cotton production was good for a subsidiary company, Salima Textile Limited, which needs about 19,000 metric tons of cotton lint, an equivalent of 52,000 metric tons of seed cotton per year for full-fledged production.
With that story, let's move to international news. Regional troops to counter DRC rebel threats. That's the headline. Part of the story is Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta has called for the deployment of a regional force to restore security in the troubled eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. In a statement, he also called for an immediate cessation of all hostilities for all armed groups, both foreign and local, to lay down arms immediately and unconditionally amid heavy fighting in recent weeks.
And here in the world news, we have IMF sets safety target for Zambia Dutch exit plan. Partly the story reads, International Monetary Fund IMF Deputy Managing Director Antoinette Monsieur Saez yesterday said she expects to present Zambia's debt restructuring plan to the fund's board for approval by September. Africa GTN quoted as having said that they are motivated that creditors are getting together, creditors will now deliberate and come to a closure, and that it should be anticipated that by early September they should be getting to the board of the IMF.
On same international news, Burkina Faso jihadist red death toll rises. That the head. Part of the story reads that the headline. Part of the story reads the death toll from a weekend jihadist attack in northern Burkina Faso has risen to 86. Authorities have said the previous toll in that attack in Seitenga village stood at 79.
Now moving on to the arts and culture section in the Nation newspaper, we have Serendip Hotels to host women in media. Partly, the story reads, hospitality chain Serendip Hotels have struck a collaboration with the Association of Women in Media Luntha chapter, starting this Friday with a dinner date at Serendip Suites in Inamiwawa, Luntha. Serendip Hotels General Manager Rodney Gozeno said the invitation of female journalists is to allow them sample the African fusion themed buffet at the Bay Leaf restaurant.
On arts and culture, there is a story with the headline, musicians to write Kuche Kuche launch. That's the headline. Part of the story, artists in the ranks of reggae group Black Missionaries alongside Anthony Makondesa, Soja Luisa Spanda, Skefa Chimoto, Pixel Lulu, Old Timer Gides Chalamanda, Onesimus, Dontas, and Lulu will tomorrow perform at the launch of Kuche Kuche beer at Lilongwe Golf Club. Oh, tomorrow at Kuche Kuche.
Oh, I think you're happy about that. You'll go, right?
I think so. I'll be
it's
there.
Weekend.
It's a weekend. So
Yeah.
what a nice weekend.
Oh. Another one is Ketura will also entertain a French ambassador. Partly the story says Ketura and Goroso put up a spirited performance on a Wednesday night before an audience that included French ambassador to South Africa, Lesotho and Malawi, Olerian Lichevelia at Jacaranda Cultural Center in Blantyre. Their traditional music reflected the essence of the center to promote Malawian and French cultures.
Thai Green advancing Chewa heritage. That's the headline. Part of the story is Thai Green, better known as Nyao King, has become the ambassador for Chewa ethnicity. Thai Green has become an institution. His exploits are yet to be fully documented in the creative industry of the motherland.
Now moving on to the back page where we'll take a look at some of the local stories. Here at the Nation Sport, we have review Queen's perks. Minister says, partly the story says, Minister of Youth and Sports Richard Chimwendo Banda has instructed Malawi National Council of Sports to adjust upwards the Queen's allowances. He said this following the Queen's impressive performance in the just concluded Kosana Tri-Nations Cup, which they won unbeaten. The Queens have, for the past 2 years, been getting 5,000 kwacha as daily training and camping allowance. They also received game bonus of 50,000 kwacha for a win, 25,000 kwacha for a draw, and $60, about 60,000 kwacha's daily external travel allowance. The amounts are in sharp contrast to those of the Flames, who received 500,000 kwacha each for a win in the Africa Cup of Nations, and 300 and World Cup qualifiers, 300,000 kwacha for a win in regional competitions such as Safa Cup, and 200,000 kwacha for a victory-friendly matches. I think that's a very good development there.
Yeah, and the Queens, they always made us proud.
They always, unlike Flames, that's what you're saying.
Oh, but the Queens,
But it's a very good way to motivate them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's on the back page of the Daily Times Sports?
Looking on the back page of the Daily Times Sports, there's a story with the headline, Kwimbira for Wafcon Tony. That's the headline. Part of the story reads, Malawian assistant FIFA referee Benedetta Kwimbira continues to hold the limelight with the Confederation of African Football CAF, including her name on the list of match officials for the 2022 Women's African Cup of Nations WAFCON finals in Morocco. Congratulations.
Yes.
Kwimbira.
Yes.
Kwimbira.
Still at the back page of the Nation Sport, we have Nomads, Salima Sugar deal goes sour. Partly the story says Salima Sugar Limited says it will not renew its 60 million kwacha annual sponsorship with 10M Super League outfit Mighty Mukuru Wanderers, which expired on March 22. However, the Nomads have accused the sugar manufacturer of breach of contract, saying that the deal was already reactivated. A letter from Salima Sugar Limited, dated June 15, signed by Company Secretary Charles Tupi, says it had made a business decision to pull out.
Moving on to the second page, from the back page of the Times, there is a story with the headline, Farm and Marinika want Ngwenya back. Part of the story, Football Association of Malawi Farm and Malawi national football team coach Mario Marinika still want Scotland-based left back Kieran Ngwenya to return.
And here we have firm offers endorsements deal for Commonwealth athletes. So partly the story says Essential Tours and Travel has promised lucrative endorsement deals for members of the Malawi Commonwealth Games team if they do well at Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, England in July. The hospitality firm disclosed this on Wednesday when it hosted athletes Stern Lifa and Asimenye Simwaka, Coach Palichesi Nyasulu, and Malawi Olympic Committee officials at Sunbird Capital on Wednesday. Maybe with you can take a look at some of the international sports stories if you have any.
Okay, I have one. La Liga attacks City and PSG. That's the headline. Part of the story is La Liga has stepped up its attack on Manchester City and Paris Saint-Germain by filing a complaint to UEFA about what it believes to be financial fair play breaches. And
on the Nation International Sports, we have 10 Premier League players up for Golden Boy Award. Partly the story says the 10 Premier League players and the 3 other Britons are on the 100-man list for the Golden Boy Award. Barcelona's Pedri won the award last year, given to the best under-21 player in Europe's top 5. Manchester United, Liverpool and Wolves all have 2 players on the long list, which will be dwindled down each month. Maybe you have another one?
Yeah, I have another one. Alves leaving Barcelona again. That's the headline. Part of the story is Dan Alves has confirmed he is leaving Barcelona for a second time after returning to the club last year. The 39-year-old right back rejoined Barcelona in November, 5 years after he left the Nou Camp for Juventus.
And that also marks the end of this edition of Press Review, whereby we're taking a look at some of the stories that are appearing in today's publications of The Nation and The Daily Times. The Nation newspaper today is going at 750 kwacha, and The Daily Times is going at 800 kwacha. Well, that's it from me, Elena Perry, and my colleague
Desire Banda.
Wish you a very good morning.
Luntha Television, bringing wisdom into your home.